welcome to this edition of Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams, along with our good buddy here, Chris King. Chris, good night for you last night, my friend. You hit it big time. Let's talk about that right off the bat.
Yeah, it was a good night last night, and we'll go over that in a second. We call it "In Case You Missed It,"
Right.
and some of you probably did because you didn't tune in. In case you did miss it, we had
Shame on you.
the 14 parlay last night with the Flames -1.5 on the puck line over the Blackhawks. We told you to take the Dallas Stars over the Oilers, the Portland Trailblazers over the Denver Nuggets, giving 6 points at home, and the Mavericks +5.5 over the Clippers on the road. All four of those panned out. The Flames winning 5-2 over the Blackhawks, the Stars beating the Oilers 4-1, Portland over Denver 119-100, and the Mavericks winning outright, beating the Clippers 112-104 in overtime. Had you laid down $100 on that, you would have come out with about $1,400.
Not a bad day's work.
Right. And going back to last week, like we talked about, we had the two-teamer on Thursday night last week with the Patriots over the Falcons in that horrible game that I feel bad for anybody that watched.
Right.
And we told you to take the Penguins over the Canadians that day. That was a two-team one that we hit. Also that day, we hit a four-teamer with the Patriots over the Falcons, Tampa Bay beating Philadelphia, which they did in the shootout, the Penguins over the Canadians, and the Blue Jackets over the Coyotes. That one would have paid out another $1,400. And that was the night also, Jim, in case you forgot, on the Shot in the Dark, we had an 8-team parlay that could have panned out with North Texas beating UT Arlington, the Panthers over the Devils on the puck line, the Sharks and Blues staying under 6, the Maple Leafs over the Rangers, the Heat over the Wizards, the Warriors and Cavaliers staying under the number, Utah beating the Raptors by 9.5, and in college football, Louisville -19 over Duke, where they were practicing social distancing in the crowd in Durham as Louisville racked up 62 points in winning that one. That one, if you had bet $100, you would have cashed out a cool 18 grand. So if you're scoring at home, that means in the last week, if you had bet $100 on each of those three parlays that we talked about, the 8 and the 2-4 teams, you would have come out about plus 20 grand.
Well, that's a good reason to watch, if nothing else, right? I mean,
Well, other than the fact that we're cool, I mean,
sometimes that's why they call it gambling. If it was a sure thing every time, it'd be called a sure thing.
That's true.
But otherwise, we're doing well. We're getting ready to head into a big Thanksgiving holiday week, and tonight's schedule is pretty packed with some good college basketball as well as the NBA and the NHL. So let's get to it, my friend. Let's begin on the college hardwood.
Yeah, we've got a matchup, the Battle for Atlantis down there in the Bahamas at the Imperial Arena in Nassau. I'm going to take Syracuse giving 5 points over VCU. Now, we talked about VCU last week and how they weren't scoring any points. Guess what? They're still not. They haven't scored more than 57 points in any game this season, and they're dead last in Division I by averaging 50.8 points a game. They're 293rd in field goal percentage. They're 334th in three-point shooting. They don't even hit free throws. They're 330th in that category, and they're 317th in rebounding. Meanwhile, you're facing a Syracuse team that's 33rd in the nation in scoring with better than 85 points a game. They shoot better than 51% from the field. They shoot better than 43% from three. Now, sure, Jim Boeheim and his sons are coming off a 15-point loss at home to Colgate where they gave up 100 points. But when VCU's highest point total is 57 over St. Peter's, you're not too worried about them racking up big point totals here. Syracuse 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 neutral site games. They're 10-3 after a double-digit loss at home. VCU 5-11 in their last 16 neutral site games as an underdog. You have to think Buddy Boeheim and company put up a big night here and cover that line to move on to the semifinals down in Atlantis.
What a wonderful place to go for a basketball game, right? I mean, you're there, it's tropical feeling, you're at this gorgeous hotel, and you got college basketball. It doesn't get much better than that, folks.
That's true.
So coming up next, we have more college basketball, and where are we headed this time, Chris?
Well, we've got another clash down there in the Bahamas. The number 6 Baylor Bears are going to take on Bobby Hurley's Arizona State Sun Devils. In case you didn't watch college basketball last season or you forgot, Baylor's the defending national champs. They're undefeated this season at 4-0, and they've won each of their games by at least 27 points. That includes a 38-point stomping of Stanford on Saturday in Waco. Meanwhile, sure, Arizona State's 2-2, but look who they beat. That's right, Portland. That's a team, in case you don't know, watched all 13 of their scholarship players from a year ago transfer out of the program. So it's a completely new organization. And they beat North Florida. Do you know what North Florida's mascot is?
No, I don't.
Most people don't. It's the Ospreys.
Oh, my. Well, it's a nice bird.
Meanwhile, they lost to UC Riverside at home and lost to San Diego State on the road. This isn't the Arizona State team of a year ago after Remy Martin, Alonzo Verge Jr., and Josh Christopher all left. Mm-hmm. Baylor 32nd in effective field goal percentage, shooting nearly 57%. They're 37th in effective field goal percentage defense, and they get after you. They are second in the nation by forcing turnovers on more than 30% of opposing teams' possessions. They're 6-0 after a win, 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 neutral site games. Arizona State does not have the weaponry to keep up with a team like this. I mean, come on, they scored 65 points against UC Riverside. Mm-hmm. Nobody's counting them as a basketball power by any stretch in the Big West. Take Baylor, give the 12. It probably shouldn't even be that close. This should be a double-digit win for the Bears as they move on.
It should be an easy win. Well, look, I mean, what a time they're having down in Waco, right? I mean, the football team's doing well.
That's true.
And you have the basketball team doing well, and the women's basketball team's doing well. So
it's a good time to be in Waco.
Yeah, it's like, Chip and Joanna Gaines have taken over, with all that's going on in the network there. They're going crazy. So
maybe they need to move up to Austin and turn things around for
for the Longhorns, right? Yeah, but no, life is good in Baylor these days. So the Bears, no matter whether it's football, women's basketball, men's basketball, it's a good time to be a Bear. So from there, let's head to the ice and see what's going on in the NHL.
All right, tonight we've got the Florida Panthers hosting the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm going to take the Panthers with the puck line at plus 112. Flyers playing the second game of a back-to-back. They played down in Tampa at the Amalie Arena last night and scored absolutely nothing as they were beaten 4-0. Like we told you, Andrei Vasilevsky was going to shut them down, and they did. Now the Flyers have to go to Sunrise at the FLA Live Arena and face a Panthers team that's 10-0 on home ice, and they've scored at least 4 goals in each of those games. That's the longest streak since the Penguins back in the early 90s, or the Flyers back in the early 90s when they did it in their first 11 games.
Wow.
Flyers are 1-8 in their last 9 of a back-to-back. They're 1-5 in their last 6 against teams with a winning record. They're 0-5 against the Atlantic Division. They're going to have Martin Jones in net tonight instead of Carter Hart, with it being the back-to-back situation. Florida's 24-4 in their last 28 at home. And Sergei Bobrovsky, 16-5-1 with a 227 goals against and a 923 save percentage and 2 shutouts in 22 games against the Flyers in his career. We just saw, like I said, we saw Philadelphia put up nothing last night. They might be hard-pressed to get anything tonight either if Bobrovsky's on his game and playing at home. We said Florida's been on their game all year. You can't argue when you're averaging 4.8 goals a game on home ice.
No.
Look for the Panthers to take this one and send Philadelphia into the Thanksgiving break disappointed and disenfranchised.
Well, there you go. It's funny because Sunrise, that building out there, is really on the edge of the Everglades. So it's you could find yourself in some pretty heavy duty mosquito area down there if you're not playing well. So
I'm still used to it being the BB&T Arena or the BB&T Center or whatever it was before.
What it used to be called, right? Yeah. So anyway, good night for the Panthers, bad night for the Flyers. Meanwhile, let's go back to the ice, and who's next?
Now we'll go back out to everybody's favorite place, the Emerald City. And no, we're not talking about the Wizard of Oz. We're talking about Seattle.
Right.
Carolina Hurricanes on the road to take on the Kraken. And I'm looking for this one to go over 5.5. If you look at it, Carolina's 8th in the league in goals per game with 3.35. Seattle still dead last by allowing 3.78 goals per game. That's right. They're worse than Ottawa. They're worse than Arizona. They're bad. Carolina's seen the over go 6-2-1 in their last 9 against the Pacific Division. Seattle's gone over the total in each of their last 9 games. This season, the over has gone 13-3-2 when the Kraken take the ice. That includes each of their last 6 at home. The over is 5-0 in their last 5 as an underdog, and it's 5-0 when their opponent gives up 2 goals or less in their last game. Guess what? We've talked about it over and over again about how the Kraken are over machines. It doesn't work well when you're last in the league in goals against and you're facing a team that's a top 10 scoring offense. Carolina could probably go over this number by themselves. We saw Colorado do it last week against them.
Mm-hmm.
This one is going to go over the number, and it probably will not be a pretty night for Philippe Grubauer, Chris Dreiger, or if they can, find somebody else. Maybe they can get a fan, like Carolina had David Ayers come out
they
as
did that a
a
few years
Zamboni
ago.
driver.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do to try and stop the puck.
It's very seldom out in the Seattle area that you get hurricane warnings, but definitely it's coming in tonight. So batten down the hatches there, folks, in Seattle, because the Kraken is going to have some trouble with the hurricane. So we move from.
Nope, we're going to stay right there, Jim.
Oh, we're going to stay there. Okay.
We're going to stay there because we just talked about the total, but I'm also going to back the Hurricanes themselves at minus 154 over Seattle. I mean, Carolina 8-1 in their last night as a road favorite. That one loss was a 2-1 overtime defeat to San Jose the other night. They're 6-1 in their last 7 on one-day rest. They're 5-1 after scoring 2 goals or less in their previous game. They're 14-2-1 this season. It's a pretty good winning percentage if you can get it.
That's for sure.
Meanwhile, Seattle 1-6 in their last 7, 1-5 in their last 6 as an underdog, 1-4 in their last 5 at home, and 0-6 when an opponent comes in scoring 2 goals or less, which ties right back into the beach ball theory that we talked about, where we think this one's going to end up over the number. You have to think that Carolina can take care of business here, given that Seattle is, well, they've looked like a normal expansion team.
Yeah, which, we were talking the other day about how Vegas didn't, and definitely this time around, the Kraken are definitely looking like a team that's in a bit of disarray. So, from there back to the ice we go. Where are we headed this time, boss, on the travel
We've
log?
got one more, and it's going to be down in the desert at the Gila River Arena in Glendale. I told you not to take the Oilers last night. I'm going to tell you to take them tonight as they take on the Arizona Coyotes. Edmonton struggled last night in a 4-1 loss to Dallas, but we talked about how poorly they play in Dallas for some reason. They're now 11-33-1 in their last 45 visits there. They still come in third in the league in goals per game at 3.72. Meanwhile, Arizona's dead last by averaging 1.79 goals per game. They're 30th in goals against by allowing 3.53 goals a night. Edmonton's won 4 of the last 6. That includes a 5-1 win here in Glendale last month in the first meeting this year. They're 6-0 after they scored 2 goals or less. They're 4-0 in their last 4 when their opponent scores 2 or less in their last game. Also, Arizona is 0-8 in their last 8 Wednesday games, and Edmonton has won 4 of the last 5 meetings here in Arizona. Look for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and company to have a big offensive night. Look for them to cover the puck line as they win this one by multiple goals against an Arizona team that still can't figure out how to light the lamp with any consistency.
Well, it's tough being a member of the Coyotes these days. It's not as much fun as it used to be. But so where
they never should have left Winnipeg.
That's a good point. And they tried so many times back to move them back to Canada, but that didn't seem to work. So it's just a tough time in Arizona. Although, to be honest, the weather's good, so there's that.
That's true. There's something.
Yeah, it's got to be something. Well, their football team's playing well, so
that's true too.
You can't do that. Watch the Cardinals. All right, my friend. Where are we headed this time on our travel log?
Now we're going to go to the Pro Hardwood.
All right.
And the Phoenix Suns, who have won 13 straight games, are on the road to face the Cleveland Cavaliers. Mm-hmm. Now, Cleveland's lost 4 in a row, and they continue to have injury issues. You won't see Colin Sexton for the rest of the year after he had surgery for a torn meniscus. Evan Mobley's supposed to miss a month with an elbow injury, and Darius Garland, who's the team's leading scorer, is questionable tonight with a neck injury. That's not a good sign for a team that's lost 4 straight games and struggles to put the ball in the basket as it is. They're 25th in the league in scoring offense at 102.3 points per game. Phoenix is 4th in the league by averaging 111.8. They're 6-0 in their last 6 after allowing 100 points or more in their last game. They're 8-3 after scoring at least 100. We told you they beat the Spurs the other night on the road. Cleveland 1-8-1 in their last 10 at home against teams with a winning road record. They're 1-6 at home in their last 7 against teams with a road winning percentage greater than 600, and they're 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 overall. Phoenix, they're playing their third game in 4 nights, but it doesn't matter when you're winning on a consistent basis like the Suns have. And with Cleveland struggling so much offensively, it's tough to really like their chances. I'm taking the Suns -7.5 on the road as they make it 14 straight wins as they keep trying to chase down another equally hot team in the Pacific Division in the Warriors. They're still a game behind Golden State in the standings.
It's amazing, with the way that we just talked about the problems that they're having in Glendale with the hockey team, the basketball team, and the football team are representing pretty well.
Yeah, and nobody cares about the Diamondbacks. So I mean,
Oh yeah, there's that. It's a crazy time to be in Arizona. What are you going to do, right?
Exactly.
So, all right. So we got that one on the hardwood tonight. As our travel guide, my friend, where are we going next, Christopher?
Well, now we're going to take you to the Hoosier State, where the Indiana Pacers are 3.5-point favorites over the Lakers. Now, the Lakers should have LeBron James back today, unless he decides that he has a hangnail or something like that. He served his 1-game suspension last night, and after that incident in Detroit, where I still don't understand how he only got 1 game and Isaiah Stewart got 2 for getting beaten up.
Right.
The Lakers lost to the Knicks 106-100 last night to drop to 2-5 on the road this year. They're 0-2 in the second game of back-to-backs on the season. They're 1-5 in their last 6 on the road against teams with a home winning percentage greater than 600. And they're 1-5 in their last 6 on the road, period. On top of that, they've gone 1-4 in their last 5 against the spread overall. Meanwhile, you get an Indiana team that's coming off a 32-point destruction of the Bulls on the road.
Wow.
They're 4-0 in their last 4 after a double-digit win straight up. They're 4-0 in their last 4 as a home favorite. They're 4-0 in their last 4 at home against teams with a losing road record. There's no reason to like the Lakers because they simply aren't any good on the road. We've seen them lose now to the Knicks. We saw them get pasted by the Celtics. We saw them have to rally to beat the Pistons. And in that game, they gave up 116 points to a team that averages less than 100 points a game. I mean, the Pistons had 99 at the end of that third quarter, and if they hadn't forgotten that basketball is a 48-minute game, they probably would have won that game outright.
Maybe they're going to
You just can't trust the Lakers.
I was just going to say, maybe what they're going to do is have somebody get in touch with Adam Silver and say, do we really have to play, 4 quarters? Could we maybe play 3? 3's good. 3's good.
Somebody needs to wake up Jerry West and remind him that, his team has to realize there's only one ball, and
right.
You can't have 3 guys shoot it on the same possession if you only get 1 shot.
This is a good point, my friend. Very good point. So we've done those 2. Where are we going now, Travel the Maven?
Now we'll head down to the Sunshine State again, as it's a Southeast Division clash between the Charlotte Hornets and the Orlando Magic. And you talk about 2 teams going in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Charlotte has won 6 out of 7. Meanwhile, Orlando's lost 6 out of 7. So, hey, they balance each other out, right?
They're looking for magic themselves.
The Magic will be minus leading scorer Cole Anthony tonight. He misses his 3rd straight game with an ankle injury. Also, Markelle Fultz, E'Twaun Moore, Jonathan Isaac, Michael Carter-Williams, Tracy McGrady, Penny Hardaway, and Shaq also all out of the lineup for the Magic.
Right.
Gary Harris is questionable. Charlotte 4-0 in their last 4 when their opponent allows at least 100 points in their last game. They're 5-0 on one-day arrest. They've gone 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 as a road favorite. Orlando 1-5 in their last 6 at home after a road trip of at least 7 days. They're 1-5 in their last 6 on Wednesday. They're 0-6 in their last 6 at home against teams with a losing road record. Charlotte 5-6 on the road this year. They'll even it up by prevailing here to make it a 6-6 by winning by double digits. They'll cover the 7-point line. You just can't trust Orlando right now with no weapons to speak of, especially missing Anthony in the lineup.
No, and if you happen to be in Orlando tonight, go to Universal or to Disney. Your money would be much better spent there than going over and watching that basketball game.
But good seats still available.
Got plenty of them, I can assure you that. So, all right, we've got that. Are we ready for two for the money, or what's going
Yes,
on there, Bob?
there's no college football tonight, which is weird because you're used to seeing
Yeah,
Maction on Wednesdays, but
mhm,
they had two games last night, and then you'll see them again on Friday.
right.
So it's kind
So
of
let's
strange
go
that
for
there's.
two for the money.
Yeah, let's go to that. We've got our two top parlays for the two teamers tonight. Charlotte -7 over Orlando. We just talked about it. Orlando's a train wreck, mixed into a dumpster fire, mixed into a nuclear holocaust.
Other than that,
Uh,
they're fine. Yes.
yeah, and the Hurricanes over and the Kraken going over 5.5. We've talked about it. Seattle is just easy money when it comes to betting the over, and I don't see that changing here. You've also got if you want to go a different route, you can go the Hurricanes -154 over the Kraken,
Mhm.
and I'm also going with Syracuse -5 over VCU, just because. I mean, come on, we're talking about a VCU team that's averaging 50.8 points a game. That's it.
That ain't
They've
gonna win a
scored
lot.
57, 44, 48, and 53 points, and that's just not going to get it done against Syracuse, even though the Orange have been mediocre defensively. Sure,
And if
VCU
they,
might score some points, but can they slow down Syracuse's attack?
well, I don't see that happening. And the funny thing is that, since the shot clocks come in, teams that score in the 50, in the 50s usually don't win basketball games.
Yeah, the exception would be teams like Houston or Wisconsin.
True, that's a good point.
But I mean, it's not something you want to make your living at.
Well, nobody named Bennett is coaching these teams, so that's another
That's
reason
true.
to consider the fact that 50 is not going to get you there. So, all right, we've gone two for the money now. As you said earlier, my friend, okay, last night, four for the show was going to bring you some serious dough. So
Yep, it was.
let's
It would have brought you
go.
$1,400.
That's right. Let's go to the four for the show.
Okay, for the four for the show tonight, we're going to go with Phoenix -7 over Cleveland. Like we said, the Cavaliers don't have Colin Sexton. They don't have Evan Mobley. They might not have Darius Garland. They've lost 4 straight. Phoenix has won 13 in a row. I don't know what else you really have to say about that. Now we've got the Bulls -8 over the Rockets. The Bulls coming off that beatdown at the hands of the Pacers, but they're facing a Houston team that has been absolutely abysmal. They have one win this season. Sure, the Rockets are at home. That doesn't mean anything. The Bulls should win this one comfortably. Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan have really meshed well together in the backcourt for Chicago. Once they get Nikola Vucevic back and up to speed after he comes out of the health and safety protocols, they'll be a dangerous team in the Central. Then on the ice, we talked about it earlier, take Florida with the puck line over the Flyers. The Flyers scoring absolutely nothing last night. The Panthers 10-0 at home, averaging 4.8 goals a game. They should have little problem beating a punchless Flyers team that has mustered next to nothing lately offensively. And as bad as I feel for Barry Trotz, I'm going to go with the Rangers over the Crosstown Islanders at the UBS Arena. We saw the Islanders open up the arena over the weekend. They lost to the Flames. They then got blanked by the Maple Leafs by a guy making his second career NHL start in net. The Islanders have not looked good offensively. They have a bunch of guys in the COVID protocols. They just look very punchless, and Trotz's strategy of playing defense only works if you can actually score one or two, and they haven't been able to do that lately. So look for the Rangers, who have been on a roll of late, to come up with that victory there.
Well, we said that when you open a new arena, in some regards, it's just as bad for you as it is for the teams coming in. Yeah, you've got your fans there, but you're learning the arena, you're learning the ice, you're learning everything else that goes with it. So, you know, the Isles playing at that in that barn, the new one, doesn't necessarily give them that edge that you would hope that you would get in a bright, shiny new building.
Right, and you figured, they've got Brock Nelson's hurt now too,
Mhm.
to add to the laundry list of guys that are out. I can't remember if Barzil is out still or not, but it's a weakened Islanders team,
Mhm.
And the Rangers have been playing well of late, which is kind of scary because nobody likes the Rangers.
Well, I was going to say, the concept of the term Rangers and being favored is not two words you hear necessarily together a lot.
Right. They've been on a roll late. I mean, they beat the
Mm-hmm.
Sabres the other night on a goal that came with 0.4 of a second left in regulation. But they're actually scoring and they're getting better goaltending. Igor Shesterkin has been better of late, as well as Alexander Georgiev.
Mm-hmm.
And the Islanders, I like Ilya Sorokin, but he's not getting any support. And Semyon Varlamov has done next to nothing this season.
Yeah, well, they're going to have those things. So we've had 2 for the money. We've had 4 for the show, which is bankable from last night, my friend. So pay attention.
Second time in a week.
Second time in a week. And now Chris is going to have some fun with you. And he's going to give you the disclaimer right off the bat, which means, of course, you don't have to do all of this the same way. You can mix and match. This is just like a Chinese restaurant. So, Chris, it's time to go for broke, my man. Here it is.
Yep. We've got 10 different games here. Like Jim said, you can mix and match them. You can pick and choose. Do whatever you want. We had an 8-teamer come out of this last week that would have cashed out, turned $100 into 18 grand. So, I mean, there is value here. You just have to figure out what works for you. I'm going to take the Jazz minus 12 on the road over the Thunder. Oklahoma City, they've played better of late, but they're facing a Utah team that's got a lot of talent and who's irritated after letting a game slip away against Memphis the other night at home. Washington minus 4 over New Orleans on the road. The Pelicans still trying to tread water until Zion comes back. By the time he comes back, they'll probably be out of the playoff picture at this point. We talked about before the Pacers minus 3.5 over the Lakers. I have no faith in a Lakers team that is 2-5 on the road and has no conceivable secondary scoring depth once you get past Westbrook, Davis, James, and maybe Talen Horton-Tucker. And that he was injured too, so he just came back not that long ago. If we go to the ice, we'll take the Maple Leafs minus 165 over the Kings. The Leafs have won 11 of 13. Kings have stepped back a little bit after that hot stretch they had a couple weeks ago. Columbus at home plus 115 over Winnipeg. You could also play the over in this game because Columbus has gone over in 8 of their last 10 games. But I like the Blue Jackets at home after seeing Winnipeg lose 3-1 to Pittsburgh at home the other night. We talked about Edmonton with the puck line over Arizona, with the Coyotes having a punchless offense, a Swiss cheese defense, and facing an Oilers team that has a ton of offensive weapons. We talked about Baylor minus 12 over Arizona State. The Bears have beaten 4 straight opponents by at least 27 points. They just destroyed another Pac-12 team, 86-48 in that win over Stanford. Arizona State just isn't the team they were even a couple of years ago. They're not the team they were a year ago when they weren't good. And I don't look for them to have a ton of luck here down in Nassau. In the 5th place game of the Maui Invitational, I'm going to take Notre Dame minus 4 over Texas A&M. Don't expect a ton of points there because Notre Dame scored 90 yesterday, but it came over Chaminade. And in case you were wondering, no, Ralph Sampson was not playing for anybody. That game was actually only a 3-point game at the half before Notre Dame opened with a 25-2 run in the second half to bury the Silver Swords. Texas A&M had a defensive struggle where they beat Butler 57-50 in a rock fight. I'm going to go with Seton Hall minus 12 over Cal. Yeah, I know I picked Seton Hall the other day and they lost to Ohio State. Guess what? Cal's not Ohio State. Cal's already lost to UC San Diego at home. They're not very good. They don't have a ton of offensive weapons. Seton Hall's better than they looked against Ohio State, and they should have no problem dusting a Golden Bears team that is miserable offensively. Then finally, we talked about VCU and Syracuse. I said take Syracuse minus 5. I'm also looking for this one to stay under 130 just because of the fact that we said VCU's highest point total is 57. Even if they score 60, Syracuse can cover and score 66, and everybody's happy. And I don't even know if VCU will get 60 because we haven't seen them hit that mark all season.
So it could be a tough night all around.
It's always a tough night for Mike Rhodes. I don't know.
Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately.
You know, his team is not the same since after Bones Highland went and declared for the draft and was selected by the Nuggets.
Yeah.
They don't really have an offensive go-to guy. I could have just said they don't have an offensive guy, period. But I was trying to be nice. Vince Williams Jr. probably the closest that they have, and he's not somebody that you want to rely on in a clutch situation.
There you go. Well, okay, folks. That's it. There's plenty to look at. If you missed the show live, don't worry. You can always come back and watch it right here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch or Twitter or any of the outlets that we are on. We encourage you, as a little streaming thing says below, to join us at winnersandwhiners.com. And, point of personal privilege here. Sorry for a little technical difficulties as I'm coming to you live from a phone. But you didn't tune in to watch me. You tuned in to watch the big guy over there, Chris.
And just a heads up, because we were asked, the best options that I like to lean to when it comes to the picks, I go with the if you're going where you're going to parlay, go with the 2 and the 4s. The shot in the darks, you can pick and choose which ones you want to mix in there. And if you're just doing single games, obviously the ones that I put up at the top are obviously my top choices for any given sport on a given night.
So there you go. A little more insight from Chris. Plenty of stuff to read on Winners and Whiners that Chris has penned, and I encourage you to go out there. This is our last show for the week. We will catch you on Monday, but we hope that everyone out there, Chris, you and your family and everyone else, has a safe and a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. We appreciate you joining us, and come on back on Monday and tell us how your weekend was, and we'll let you know how we did this weekend too. But thanks everybody for joining us right here on Just Parlays. For Chris King, I'm Jim Williams saying have a safe and a wonderful holiday weekend.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it for sure.